Yeah, good.
Okay. Uh, Hi everyone, my name is Karthik. I'm working as a senior engineer in Unicode. Um, I work in CRM right now, so I'm going through basics of CRM, and I'll be covering these things in given intervals. So first we'll go through what is CRM, then we'll see why espoCRM and the wow factors, and we'll conclude. Okay. So CRM, the it's an abbreviation for customer relationship management. So, what is CRM? Strategy to manage relationship and interaction with your customer and potential customer. Okay. So, to manage your customer, interact with your customer, get customer. Basically, you can have customers as well as potential customers, which means you interact with people who are not already your customers. Okay. Uh, so what does CRM include? Right? It includes sales, service, support, and quality. Okay. You sell the product, you provide service for your product, you provide support also when customer asks certain specific questions or feedbacks, things like that, and you maintain quality of your product also. So, how does this work? Right? The sales process. Okay. In CRM, um, so the marketing team gathers information on the target audience of your product. Okay. Once the target or I mean, once you reach out to the people, that is the marketing team reach out to the people, you qualify them as a lead. Okay. So they are known as lead. They are not exactly your customers, but they are your potential customers, which means they can use your product or may say, I'm not interested. Right? Now, whoever these people are contacted by the sales team, and the sales team will reach out to these people and try to sell the product. Okay. Now, two things can happen. They say, okay, I'm interested in your product or not. Okay. Whoever says I'm interested in your product, they qualify as opportunities. Okay. Opportunities for a new account or new sign up or new user for that product. Okay. Um, so there are several CRMs outside, okay, in public. Like Salesforce is one of the biggest used CRM, right? And there are others like Oro CRM, Zoho CRM. So why we chose specifically espo CRM, right? There are several reasons behind it. Okay? One is it's open source. So suppose you go to Salesforce or Zoho, you have to pay huge amount of money per user. It's user basis. Okay, and along with that, for APIs you have to pay separately, I think. Um, Espo is not the case. It's open source. It's free for basic model, which contains most of the features. So you can achieve what you achieve in Salesforce or Zoho in Espo for free. Okay. Second, control of data. Now, if you work on Salesforce, all the leads that have been gathered or the contacts that have been gathered are pushed to the cloud. Okay. Suppose there is some minor change in your data, which you do in your database or anywhere, you have to call APIs over and over again to make changes in your Salesforce. In this case, it's not the case. Your data is in your hand, which means you are hosting the database in your server. You can run patch or you can do whatever you want, and there is no expenditure. That's one main advantage of using espoCRM. And it's rapid deployment time and stress-free deployments. Okay, so I have worked on Zoho CRM as well. Deploying, you have to test over and over again, and since it is a paid one, right, it's very difficult to test it also because we don't have a we have to either manage a separate paid account for testing. We cannot test everything in production, right? We have to test it properly before we deploy in production. So you need to have another paid account just for testing, and not all use cases will be covered in those scenarios because it's paid, right? We don't want to pay for everything and maintain another copy of the CRM in your account. So that's there. Customization. Customize anything and everything that suits your company's need. Okay. You can practically customize each and every component and each and every module. So that's one big advantage. Okay. Ability to customize without affecting underlying architecture or framework. Okay. So you can write your custom code. Okay. Tomorrow if your boss says we don't want this particular feature, we have to remove it. You just have to remove that piece of code from the folder and it will go back to normal. Okay. You don't have to spend time on rewriting your code, saying that hey, I want to go back to this particular release, so I just have to revert it. No, you just delete your custom code and it will go back to the original state. Okay, that's one more advantage. So support and upgrades. espoCRM is a lightweight CRM, which means it's very fast, and we have been using it for past 6 months, and it's extremely fast while working as well as deployment and as well as for end users. Okay, and the response from the forum is amazingly quick. In a day, unless it's a Saturday or Sunday, you get the response like in probably half a day, and I think it's pretty good. Okay. And espoCRM undergoes constant upgrades. The most recent release was 5.3.2, which happened on July. Okay, the last release happened on June. So monthly they release a new, version. So what does espoCRM framework use? Right, it uses Zen framework. Couple of packages from Zen framework. It's mainly the front end is mainly built on Backbone.js. Backend runs on PHP. Database is MySQL or MariaDB. Doctrine is used, and Slim framework for API, and ORM. I think it's Doctrine itself. ORM. Yeah. CRM common definitions which I am going to use. This is just for knowledge basis. Leads are your target audience. Contacts are similar to your phone book. Opportunities are potential customers who have shown interest in the product. Accounts are your actual customers who have signed up to the product. And cases are the support tickets opened by your customer. Okay, I'll explain one of them and show how you can do customization later on. Okay. espoCRM terminologies. Entities are leads, contacts, and accounts. Those are called entities, and records are the entries in the entities. Okay. So installation requirement. You need LAMP or LEMP, Linux, Apache, Nginx, MySQL, PHP. Linux is not mandatory. You can install it in Windows or Mac. We use it in Linux, so LAMP or LEMP. espoCRM files, which you.
One question: have you Dockerized this?
They haven't I wanted to Dockerize it, but for some reason it was redirecting too many times, so I couldn't finish it up.
Okay.
But I was successfully able to, launch it.
Okay.
It's in trial and error basis right now. So how to, right? Okay. So this is going to be the demo part. Okay. So since there are a lot of things to demo, I'm going to start demoing right away. Okay. So I hosted it in my local, so let me log in first. So I have logged in as admin, and when you immediately as you log in, it will land to dashboard. Okay. And you will see dash here. You can customize these things, but this is basically your dashboard, and these are the activities. Stream is nothing but the activities which I have done so far. Okay. You have leads, accounts, contacts, modules. So I'm focusing on leads today because others you can customize in same way. Um, so there are 3 entries right now. Okay, let me show you one of them. This is how it looks. Very neat UI. Okay, and you can edit field wise individually, or you can edit as a whole entity itself. Okay, so these are data and it's assigned to certain person, sales agent, whoever it is. I can assign team also here. So I have created teams and kept it ready. You have activities, history, activities, you can compose a mail, you can schedule a meeting, you can schedule a call. History, whatever have been done is logged here. Tasks, it's something for you. Say I want to, this user has asked me for callback at this particular time, you create a task and make a reminder out of it. You can do stuff here. And stream is for adding notes to someone else or adding notes for yourself. So I can, if I use it will give me whomever I have to send the message for, and I can type anything here and post it. And this will be notified for that particular person, and it will come in notification bar. Okay, so I'll show you when it comes as notification a little later, but for now I am focusing on presenting the UI. So you can convert a lead, which means the lead has shown interest, and it will be converted to contact, account and opportunity. You can choose one of them if you want, and you can fill these things, or it will auto if you have already configured. So okay, name something. Okay, it's converted. So when it converts, it shows contact and opportunity here in the as a side panel. Okay. Apart from that, let's go to what an admin. From a developer, I'm more concerned on what an admin can do rather than what a sales agent can do, right? So let me show you what an admin can do. In administration, you have a lot of things. Let me go one by one. Settings, okay? Allows you to configure the site URL. This will be used for several reasons, okay? Right now I'll use it as localhost. You can do global search entity list, which is global search is this one. You can search email or by name, okay, here, and it will search in these field, entities, okay. You can disable export, only admin is allowed then. You can do lot of, there are a lot of options you can cover here, okay. Now I'm not going through all of them. So let me change, okay, let me save this. You can use cache also. We save this, go back, and user interface. If you want to configure any UI, you have a lot of themes here, okay. Classic export, company logo you can upload, and you can change the customs here. And there is records per page, you can change that, right? Disable avatars, you can change the order in which list is shown, like accounts are shown first here. Now if I change the tag list, it should give me leads first, okay. Now I can add new dashboards based on my requirements here, okay. It has already prepared. If you want to customize it even more, you will have to write code, which I will be showing later. Yeah, so those are some of the things you can do. Now since once I saved it, it didn't change my UI, even though I changed the theme and name and stuff like that. So the reason is it has a cache already, okay. So you have to refresh this cache. First thing what you have to clear the cache using clear cache, okay. And then you hard refresh it, which is Control F5 or Control Shift R, and now it changed the UI, right? So you should always hard refresh it, otherwise it won't show you the changes made, okay. Now authentication, you don't want to go to that for now. I'll schedule job also not now. Notifications, you can send in-app notifications which will come in notification bar, okay. You can enable or disable notification sounds, okay. And you can do email notification. So if I email notification notification will be notified via email. The email can be configured, which I will be showing sooner. Send email about post mentions, things like that. Okay. So let me go back. Okay. Now upgrade. If any new version comes, you can just download the upgrade zip, and you can upload the zip file, and it will upgrade itself. Okay. And it will not affect your custom code by that. The upgrades will not affect your custom code unless you have written in the, the source code. Users, what are the main things? The problem in Zoho or Salesforce is paid by user, right? Here you can create as many number of users you want, and you can define the permissions in a granular level. You can say this particular field I don't want any user to touch it, right? So those kind of things you can do here. So let me show one of them.
But there must be some upper limit.
What?
For users also. There must be an upper limit.
Upper limit? It's all where
number of users that you can create. Or like
so far I have created about 20.
No, what are they saying? How many you can create maximum?
No, there isn't, because database is in your end, right?
Okay. So it's basically integer specific. So my database, I put this number of users integers, int or float or double. That
no,
only
there
I
is
can.
No number of users specified there, right? It's a data. The user is a table, right?
Okay.
So user table will contain everything. So
okay.
Do you have a limit in MySQL table?
So just that. There's nothing else, no constraint at all.
No, there isn't. You can create as many number of teams you want, as many number of roles you want, as many number of users you want. So it all goes and stores in database except for the admin user.
Okay.
The admin will be present somewhere else. Except for admin, everything goes and stores in database, the user information especially. So this is how I have configured it. I have added a new user, and I have added him to sales team, okay? And the role is sales. So let me show you what role and sales are, team are. So role allows you to define permissions, okay? What a user can do in particular table. So I have disabled him from account and almost everything except for the lead. So I want the sales agent only to work on lead, okay? In this case, I say enable it. This is create. I allow user to create lead. I allow user to read all the leads, which is not assigned to him, which is assigned to him. Doesn't matter. I allow user to edit any lead that is assigned to his team. Okay.
What are the options other than team?
All team, no.
Okay.
Okay. So if it is team, he can assign anyone in his team. He can edit. If it is no own, then he can edit only his. If it is no, he can edit none. Delete, it's no.
Okay.
I cannot stream. This part is stream, so he can post anything in the stream. Stream is just to post. It's like a chat, or you can consider it as a chat, but it doesn't have to be like a chat.
Okay.
It's mostly for notifying someone else that, hey, I have done this operation in this particular lead. Please don't do anything, or please do something.
Okay.
And you can specify the permissions even in the field level. So for this lead, I say he can read the email, he can send an email for that email, but he cannot edit the email. He cannot edit the phone. So I can show you how it is done. Okay. So this part is something I'll get back to. For now I'll focus on this. Okay. Here I can say team, own, all, anything. I can click own also. Okay. Now here I can say lead, edit, yes, or I can add a field. Let me show you adding a field. So I can check something else. Address, let's say. Okay. Address. He can add an address or read an address, but no edit. He can read an address but no edit. Okay. So I'll save this. So in this case, user permission is for assigning leads to user. Assignment permission is also there for assigning for user. It gives you clear description on what it can do. Okay. So can assign and post only to teammates, can assign and post only to self, no restrictions, things like that. So activities, can view activities of teammates only, can't view, can view all. Activities, calendar and stream other users, right? So things like that. So you have teams, okay? Now a team can have roles as well as position list, okay? And roles, it doesn't need to have one, it can have several roles. One team can have several roles. So for example, sales management, if I go, it has manager role as well as sales role,
Okay.
right? So it can have several roles as well as position list. This comes handy when you are writing a workflow, which is not going to be a part of this talk. Okay, let me go back to this now. Now I have explained user team, roles, action history. Okay, all the actions taken by any user will be logged here. So you want to do an audit, you can go here and check this. You can always check this. Okay, all the logs are here. So those are the things you can do here. Now, customization. I'm going to come back to this in a bit. Let me cover the other topic because this is going to be the main feature of espo. So emails, okay? You can send emails to people, okay? For example, if I click on this, it will allow me to send email just right from here, okay? I have to just, type my subject, type my body. If you want HTML templated ones, you can load template also here, which I have actually. Let me see. Yeah. So it allows you to load template, right? And this is auto-filled, okay? It's not like, so because I'm sending it to Karthik, but it's going to take first name because I have configured it that way. Let me show you how it is done. But before that, there are certain things. Okay, outbound emails. Yes, this is for system email. Any email you want to send from system, CRM, you can configure your, for example, let's say you have a notification email that sends notification, okay? You have it in your Gmail somewhere. Okay? You just have to configure your server. Basically, it is if it is Gmail, then it is smtp.gmail.com. Okay. Port, you don't even have to specify it. Just specify itself. Auth. Show you it. And password. I can send a test email. You have to open your email for third-party application to access it.
Okay.
Before that, that's why I'm not able to do that. But other than that, you can configure it and it will start sending. Because I have worked on this, it's working in my office systems. Okay. So inbound emails will allow you to set limits. Set limits on how many inbound email you want to fetch at a time. I'll come back to this shortly. So there is certain things called group email account and personal email account. Now personal email account is user email accounts, which means if I am a sales agent, I want to configure my email here, I can do that in personal. Group email account is, say there is a sales team, you have dedicated sales team, and suppose someone contacts sales regarding the product, okay? So it will be, that particular lead will be assigned to one person, okay? And he will have to send email. He is not going to send from his personal email, right? He has to send it from say a dedicated sales email, so that it is received and sent from one email. There is one endpoint for a sales team, right?
Okay.
So that everything gets assigned properly, distributed, and they know what's happening where. It's not, in 10 different places and we don't know what is happening where, right? So for group email accounts, we can always create an email account and it's a dedicated email account, okay? Now, once I set group email, what I can do is that if an inbound email comes, right, then I can always create a case support request. For example, support team. You have a support team, dedicated support team, and someone makes a request that, hey, I don't understand what is this, how to use this product, right? They send it to say support at yourcompany.com. Okay. Now, if I configure support at yourcompany.com here and say create a case, it will create a case here. It will create an entry here, and your support agent just have to go and look at this particular case. Okay, and he or she can reply from exact at the same time, I mean from case itself. So if I have to give you a demo, I'll create one case question, okay, and I can select account and contact here. Let me say incident question, and I'll save it. Now if a contact is already there should be one contact. If a contact is already there, the support agent can always compose an email from here. It will automatically fill my name, and I can type whatever I want. I mean the response to the question, right? So that happens automatically when you create a group email account. Okay, email to case conversion happens. Now email templates, right? So this is how I configured the templates. So in order to, so there are several tables, right? So I don't know which table, how to configure this particular field, right? I can always search for it and I can insert that. Say contact ID, and I can insert it here directly, and it will insert the database field immediately. So you can write templates without even breaking a sweat. And I'll remove this for now, because what I have done is I have already configured the signatures. So I'll go back to this. Okay, that's the highlights of espo, I mean UI. Okay. Now configuring customization. I'll come to customization now. So say I want to add some fields here in leads, okay, which I get from say SEO, Google Click ID and things like that, and I want to add a new panel saying that this is SEO field or something that comes from website, right? So I can always do in two ways. I can either write my own code or I can configure it from the UI itself. So I can go to entity manager first, because I need fields first. So entity manager is the one that manages the database fields, okay, and layout manager is the one that manages the UI, how the fields appear, okay, and label manager manages what label should be presented when you open a particular module or entity, right? So I'll go to entity manager in leads, and I can create these many types of fields. Okay, I'll show you one. So let's say someday, right? If you autofill this, this is the field. This is what is being stored in database. This is what is the label for it. Okay, this will go and sit in the label manager. Now I can make it required, default, none, or now. Okay, numeric format, audit it. It will be logged always, and it will come in string, right? I can write conditions to make things visible. So I can say if account is not empty, then make it visible, right? I can do this. Okay, so you can do the same conditions for others also. So I'm not going to add it here right now because I have already written those things, and I'm going to move it from there to here. So what happens is your custom code is created in a particular folder. So this is my folder. Okay. Now custom will be created here. Okay. The source code will be present in the application. Okay. So if I go to application slash espo, it will give me all the source code, controllers, hooks, everything. Okay. Going back, if I go to custom and espo, it will give me the custom codes which I have written. Now right now it has nothing. Okay. So I'll go to move it to here. Okay. Now in this particular folder, resources, there are three folders: metadata, layouts, and I18N. Okay, I18N is label manager. Okay, metadata will contain your field names and the field to label map. Okay, so first I will go to that. So here entity types defines the entity and its definitions. Okay, so here in lead JSON, if I open this, it contains the new fields which I have created. Okay, fields: visited site on, is of type date, reason of visit. Okay, and the label for this is present here. Sorry. You can put labels in different languages also. Okay, so right now we are focusing on English only.
Could you increase the font factor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in lead JSON, this is what it contains. Okay, so when your layout will call this particular field, it will substitute the field name with the value of the key. Okay, so this is any options which I will show how it works. So one moment. And the layouts will contain how your layout should appear. Okay, so there is detail and list. Detail is for detailed view. So let's see what is detailed view and list view. This is a list view. Okay, this is a detailed view. Now what I have done is I have added a new panel. This is a panel. Okay, details is a panel. This is a field. Okay, I have added a new panel below details. So which I have moved it right now to the custom folder. Now if I refresh this, so in order to see the changes, we always have to refresh, clear the cache and refresh, hard refresh. So new field, visited on yesterday, right? And the new use panels, user activity and reason of visit. This is actually date. espo converts it into user readable form. Okay. Okay. Now going back to how the entity manager will look now is, let's see, leads.
I think so the font needs to be increased.
What is it?
The font needs to be increased. Control plus, command plus or control plus. Yeah.
Okay. See here reason of visit, and it's a enumeration. Okay. Basically it's a dictionary which contains, it's a list actually, which contains a key value pair. The key is just for reference. The value will be displayed. Okay. It's a label. So going back here, I'll see a remove button. You see for others I don't see remove button. Only for this I see a remove button. The reason is this is user defined field. Okay. The fields which are not user defined you will not be able to remove it. So how to remove those? You go to layout manager. Go to leads, right? Details, and you can just cancel it out, and it will not come. It is, the field will still be there in the database, but it will not be displayed in the UI. Okay, so you really cannot remove it totally. Okay, but that's fine. You can, if some fields are mandatory, you can make it not required also. So for example, in this case, um, amount is a mandatory field in opportunities, right? So let me show opportunities. So amount is a mandatory field required. I just have to uncheck it and save it, and it will save that. Yeah, so it's done. So now if I create an opportunity without amount, it will work. Okay. Okay. So that is a part of a customization. Okay. So let me show how detailed this is. Sorry. So all these things are stored in JSON, because of which all your custom code, custom layouts are stored in JSON, because of which you have to clear cache and clear the session cookies and everything before you see the changes, applied changes. Okay. So this is how it looks. The first row contains name and account name, 2 columns. Okay. Second row contains email and phone number. Similarly, it contains like that. Okay. So and you have dynamic logic, which says condition group type equals source website. Okay. So what it is saying is, in the dynamic logic, if the lead source is website, then you show this panel. Okay. User activity panel is shown only if the lead source is website. If it is not, I can just hide it. I want to filter out most of the informations which are not even relevant in some cases. For example, if a lead doesn't come from things like SEO, right? Then, or let's say this, if there is no information in a particular field, I don't even want to view it, because there is no point in viewing it. So it's just garbage lying in front of my eyes, hiding the actual data, right? So I just want to filter it out. So in this case, there is no data there. So I just filtered it out directly. So if the source is website, it will start popping up immediately, right? Otherwise, it will just hide it out. So that's the advantage of having dynamic logic. Okay. Now this is all good, right? You can customize your fields and things like that. But what about when you want to integrate with a third-party application? Because you may want to send emails from campaigns and things like that, right? Or you may want to do a lot of things which are not present in the CRM right now. How do you integrate it with the third-party application? So you can write services, okay, one, or you can write scheduled jobs, which are cron jobs. Okay. So how do you do that? So let me come back to resources. Okay. So resources is one of the folder that manages all your layout, entities and things like that, filters and things like that. Okay. There are other folders which will manage a lot of other things. For example, if I go back to the presentation, now, so there are several folders which we'll be focusing on today. Okay. Resources is something I focused on right now. So entity defs allow you to add user defined field, right? Client defs the older version of espo usually allowed you to add filters, the dynamic logic which I showed you. Now they have moved it to entity defs with the newer version. This is written based on the older version, okay? And layouts allows you to decide which field should show where, okay? And I18 already I explained, it shows the label, okay? Now, controllers. Controllers are your controllers which allows you to write custom APIs, okay? espo has its own APIs defined which allows you to communicate with the espo with authorization and authentication, okay? Hooks. For example, before you save lead, you want to do some operation, right? So that's where you write your before save and after save of the ORM. Jobs allows you to write custom schedule job which I am going to show in the demo. And services allows you to do things like duplicate checks and like that, stuff like that, okay? So all these are defined, so I am just going to start one by one. So let me move the jobs. So before that, going back to this guy, scheduled jobs, right? I told you I'd come back to this. So there are already scheduled job returns here, okay? Send mass emails, send email reminders, notification, things like that, right? Now if I want to add a new scheduled job, I have to create a scheduled job. In this I can add only predefined jobs, okay? I cannot add anything that is not defined. So these are the things which are predefined right now. And the status, if I change to inactive, it will not run. I can give the name for the scheduled job and I can write time, okay? This is how you write the time, cron timings basically. So it will run every 5 minutes, every 2 hours, 1:30 on once a day, you know, things like that. Now, I have to create a new scheduled job. How do I do that? So I'll move this to custom jobs. The reason why it gives permission denied is because it is www data. The owner is www data, not the original user of this user. Okay. So I have scheduled job there, and this is how my code looks like right now. Do something. Okay. I haven't done much. This is just a log, which is monologue. Okay. And now if I clear cache and refresh, it should happen here. Right. Now I'll add a new job. You see, do something. A new job got added. So you can run on a scheduled basis first thing, okay, and it will automatically start. It will start running, and you can see the log when it has run. Okay, all the logs when it has run will be there. Okay, so that's something. Now, let's say you want to create a custom API. Okay, now first, before you create a custom API, let's see what API exists, right? Otherwise it's so this is their documentation, and these are the APIs what they use. Okay, it's a REST API. So you have to put base URL /API/v1. So let me see if I can do the same thing here, right? API/v1. It gives me the response. This is just to test whether the API is working or not. The reason why I am getting this response is I am already logged in, and it's using the authentication of the logged in user. Okay. Otherwise, you have to write your own authentication, which is like this: basic authentication. You can put base64 encode of username and password. Okay. Pass it as a header. and espoauthorization. Now, if I give instead of this app/user, okay, what I do is copy this and run it here. Actually, my username password is admin, so
So it's PHP based everything.
which one?
This one.
What?
When you say PHP, man, say what is it?
Interactive PHP.
Okay. No,
It's
but
like IPython.
Espo is PHP.
it's based PHP, right? Which PHP? 5, 6, 7?
It's 7.0 right now.
The
It
upgrade-
works on 5.6 and above.
the upgrades are pretty good.
Yeah, no. 7 is quite fast.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good point. You all know what is the difference between transpiling and compiling?
What?
Between transpiling and compiling. JavaScript guys of work should be knowing this word. What is it really mean?
Right, it gives me so many stuff. Let me filter it out properly. Okay, so this is the token which we will be using later on our authorization, or you can use the same, both are same. This is basically the information of the current user who has made an API query. Okay, all the roles will be returned as a response for app/user. Okay, and the token as well. So what token is being said here, right? Password or token. This is the token which we are going to use. This token, right? And once you do that, you have to only send espo authorization. You don't have to send authorization basic. Okay, SSL, which allows you to encrypt your password even more quickly. So there are thread operations. You can do get of entity type. /leave, and it gives me total result, all the leads, right? So suppose you have 1000 leads, it won't return you 1000 leads, it will just return you the first 20 leads. And for navigating further, you will have to use bookmarks. Offset you will have to use. Okay, so you can always set offset, max size, and everything. By default, it sends 20 items, and you can do a where query also. Okay, you can read entity, create entity. All these are API calls. Okay, so most of the things are already there, but if you want anything in custom, you can always write in controllers. Okay, and make sure you know that it's all being done in custom folder. Suppose I remove it, it will go back to its original state when you installed it. Okay, so that's one big advantage. So let me do it. Controllers. Controllers. I have to create one new file there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy some data. First I see where I'm at. Account currently not available. espoCRM application, espo controllers. CRM controllers. Okay, this is what it contains. Now I need only some function out of it. So okay. So this namespace has to change, right? Custom. This should come from espo modules CRM controllers slash lead class. Okay. Now public function action do not call. It takes the param, a data and request. So now I just log what I have sent. Okay. I can call the ORM here, but I'll show you in a moment. So let me test this out. Before that, I have to provide the roots also for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a root. Roots.json of my user. And I'm going to edit espoCRM application espo modules CRM resources roots. Okay. here I'm going to get that root. It should go. So root is lead slash action slash id. Okay. Method is second. Controller is lead. You can change it. Action is do not call. Scope I don't need. ID I need. So I don't need. There you go. So let me validate this JSON first. Okay, it's valid. Otherwise it would have given error. So this should do it. Let me check if I can do the same thing here. So API v1 lead action do not call, and I need an ID, so I need to get ID. The ID is not integer, so it's not found. I haven't refreshed it, have I? Because it's roots.json, I need to refresh it. Yeah. So if I check logs, now where are logs, right? So logs are present here. Okay. There is a folder called data which contains all your cache and logs. Okay. And in data, if I do ls, config.php is there. This is where your database configuration is stored. Okay. So cat config.php, right? This contains all your information about database and everything. Okay. And all the UI settings which you have done earlier in the administration have been set here. Okay. And the administration, the first user who signed up to espoCRM, his information, username and password is stored here, which means all the next users which you are going to add are going to use this particular key, okay, to decrypt their passwords. Okay, script key and password salt both are being used for decrypting and encrypting your other users' passwords. Okay, so suppose you change this, all the users' password you have to reset, otherwise it's not going to work. They are not going to be able to sign in. Okay, so the leads changes which I did in tab list are here, global search entity list are here, everything comes here. Okay, and it gets updated the moment you clear cache and refresh. I mean, the moment you clear cache, it gets updated. The reason why you need to do hard refresh in browser is to remove browser cookies and browser data. Okay, now I added a log earlier, remember? So let me show you where that log is. So it's in data/logs, and this is the log. If I do cat, it will take forever to read. Hey, okay. Now let me see. Something happened, which is email sent test email. No. Display error. Keep it -f. I will do is I go to other, right. Here, what I have to do is do not call, okay, leave. I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need that. So what happened? Is it coming here or not? We'll check. Oh, I know what happened. So the log level is in the warning right now. Okay? So I have to change the log level because I have kept the info as the log, right? So first I change that. So highlight search and find that warning. Right. So if I change it to info, it should start working. Provided I clear cache again. I am not returning anything, that's why I am not seeing any result. But logs slash see do not call info, right? The API is working. Okay. So you can create your own custom APIs, right? And if you want to use ORM, right? Now, if you are creating your own API, that means you need to do something with the database. Because CRM is meant for managing data, right? The data of your potential clients and clients, right? So you have to have one ORM which allows you to manipulate data in the database level, right? For that, they have something called, they have the ORM, okay? So it's DBAL actually. So this is how you can create a new entity, fetch existing entity and things like that. There are a lot of things. I'm not going to go into details because there is already a solid documentation on this, okay? The only thing I'm going to show is how to use this and make your stuff running. Okay? So let me do that. So first I have to modify the lead again. So let me go to espoCRM controllers. Now I'm going to get the entity manager. Before that, I have to check if request is correct or not. Okay. So if I have to add basic validations, not necessarily that you have to add, but it's always good. Request dot is get. Okay, these functions are already defined, so not request dot is get. It should be get. Variables log error. Okay. For now, I'll keep it short. Now your ID will come in params. Any post data will come in data. Okay. So params will contain your IDs. So let me take ID from there. Lead ID equal to params of ID. entity manager gives you the entity manager. From that, I need to get the entity. Entity is of type lead and send the lead ID. And this returns me the entity. Okay. Once I get the entity, I have to modify it. So entity dot set the particular field. Do not call true. Then save entity. This dot get entity manager dot save entity, and I have to send the entity. Then I return status 200 message structure. This you can modify anything you want. It's up to you. Let me keep it simple for now. Okay, you can also send whatever is here response. It's basically ID of the entity. Okay. So let me try it now. Okay. Since I have modified PHP file, I do not have to do anything. Success. Now the thing is, once I have done this, I want to make sure that I have done it correctly. So one of them should have do not call, right? So let me see if it is. It's do not call, right? I took a visiting courier soon, so it's it. Okay. So this is do not email. I can change this. Let me try one more time actually, so that to make sure that I have gotten it right. Refresh and leads. Gotten it right. Right? So that's how you modify your entities. Okay? I mean database. So this is how you add a custom API. Now there are certain things that you have to do sometimes. Okay, like for example, you have a third-party application which allows you to register for their webhooks. Okay. Now, how many of you know webhooks here? Webhooks? No? Okay. Webhooks are nothing but, see, if you have to, say there are two applications, okay? Now, one application communicates with another application via APIs, right? So, suppose I am communicating, I need a field status here, okay, state of a field here in this application 2, right? Application 1 has to check, have you updated this field? Have you updated this field? Have you updated this field? Every once in a while it has to go and call that application 2 via API to check if a state has been updated, okay? Now, instead of that, webhook what it does is, when application 2 updates a field state, right, it will send the API query to application 1 and say, hey, I have updated the state, do whatever you want, do the needful, right? So that's how webhooks work, okay? So say you have a third-party application which allows you to register a webhook and you want to integrate the webhook with your application, okay? In that case, you cannot use API because you need authorization for that, right? The problem with the authorization is that not all the APIs will be handled by you, right? Webhook APIs especially are not handled by you. So what you have to do is you have to create entry points for that. For example, this is a controller, right? So if I show previous place, application espo, right? Now there is a folder called entry points, okay, which allows you to communicate with, it allows you to communicate with the authentication and without authentication, okay. So I'm not going to write code now, I'm just going to show you how it is, okay. Now let me show attachments, for example, okay. So it says auth required is true, okay. If you say auth required is false, it doesn't require authentication, which means it can directly communicate with the espo, okay. And this run function will be called whenever that particular API is called, okay. Now how the API works is, instead of saying API slash v1 slash v, I say API slash attachments. Attachments. Okay. So it's, this is just a demo, so you will not know what is happening here, but basically what it does is, whatever function you define in, or whatever functionality you define inside run, it will execute it without authenticating it, okay. So you can always open up APIs, for entry points for other applications to communicate without authorization, okay. So those were the things, okay. Now going back to the presentation, you can customize client side also, which I am not going to go through in depth, but basically it's a backbone framework. So you'll have collections, controllers and models and views, where you can customize your front end, okay, the way you want it. And the templates which are being used is Smarty, okay. There is something called Smarty, which allows you to write template, okay. Yeah, so who is espo for? Organization wanting CRM up and running quickly, and organization which wants control of data within the organization, rather than pushing it in cloud, where you have to write APIs to change data. You can always use espo for those, because you don't have any limits set for that, because it's hosted within this network. espo provides features like workflow, business process management, right, flowcharts and stuff like that, and click to call VoIP, which is very important, okay, which are paid add-ons, okay, you have to pay that for that. It also provides real estate add-on, okay. BPMs can have user tasks, send message tasks and script tasks, so you can write them very conveniently, okay, and easily. So that's it from CRM. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Oh, okay. Thanks a lot, Karthik. Thanks.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, that brings us to end. Thank you all for waiting up here literally on a Saturday evening, afternoon rather. If you want, we can take a photo. Who's come new? Who's come only for this session? I need to check you in, otherwise you get put on a blacklist. Who you came right now, right? Who else? Anyone else? Top right, yeah. Okay, okay.